Hey everyone, welcome back to the Superhero Show. Daniel and Chris here, and we have finally seen it. We've seen Batman v Superman. Kind of goes without saying, if you're watching this video, we're going to go into spoilerific detail about the movie, the events of the movie, every part of it. But initially, let's talk about...
Although, to be honest, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen a lot of the film anyway, or maybe you've seen the best bits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we're disappointed. You, maybe even more so than me.
I really did not enjoy it. I sat throughout just failing to connect with it. I thought it was messy and a bit stupid. And it's stupid in a way that it tries to make out that it's intelligent, that it's like, it's mythological and it's debating big issues, but it's really not. I think more than anything, I think this is bad storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've come out of a film with as many questions over plot holes and logic, and I made some notes while I was watching the film, and then coming out, when you saw it, we started discussing them, and then I noticed our guys in the States have started an email thread, and it's just going on and on, these things where you're thinking, well, this makes no sense, that makes no sense. And that's really frustrating. It was frustrating enough watching the movie when you're just trying to enjoy it, but then afterwards, and even I spoke to some of the actors and the producer and director and asked put a couple of these questions to them, and there weren't really very good answers to them. You know, there seemed to be some confusion there, or certainly scenes cut that potentially will explain things, but that's just not good enough.
I find very disorientating. And we're going to get on to discussing what this means for the future. We're not just going to be like spending the next 20 minutes giving the film a kick in. We're going to talk about what this means for the DC universe at large and what's going to change and where they go next. But yeah, lots of very strange scenes, like the whole Africa stuff, the bullets, Lex, Jimmy Olsen working for the CIA, just unnecessarily weirdly complex in a very confusing way. Yeah,
I mean, before we get onto that stuff, maybe what did you like about it? Let's, find some positives. Before he goes then, I really liked the opening scene. I thought it was terrific seeing the event from Bruce Wayne's point of view. I found that really, it made me think about it in quite an emotional way that I hadn't done when I watched Man of Steel. I thought that was really cleverly put together. I liked him as Batman, even though he was forced to give quite a one-note performance. This is just an angry, dark, brooding Bruce Wayne. It's Frank Miller's Batman. But so there was no more. There was nothing more to him really. But I went in not sure that I would like Ben Affleck, and I thought he was great. And I'm interested to see him get to be Batman.
I think even though there's a lot in that movie, it does feel like a Batman movie. Like the beginning of the movie is him. Yeah. He's like, if there is a focal point, it is him. I liked the fact that we've got a slightly different type of Bruce Wayne. After Christian Bale, where all of Bruce Wayne was an act. It was all an image, a sham, like just when he's falling in a swimming pool with women. You never got the impression that he wanted to be with any of those women. But there's the shot where Bruce is in his like sweet lakeside designer home, and he slept with a woman. He feels like he has desires that aren't just fighting crime. He's been doing it too long. He needs something to like get by. Yeah. And I think one of the things I do like about the movie, I like Jeremy Irons, Alfred, and their dynamic. Yeah. Slightly different. I could have done with more of that, but there's too much going on in that movie. I think, Affleck is one of the fight sequence, the Batman fight sequence is brilliant, but you kind of seen that almost wholesale in the trailer. Yep.
I liked what I saw of Wonder Woman. Don't think she was given a terribly amount of interesting things to do. She didn't really seem to have any kind of a story arc to the character, but I didn't have any problems with her like I thought I might do.
That's it.
Should we look ahead?
Yeah, we're going to look ahead. Yeah. So we're talking about this just before the movie goes on, nationwide release. We don't know how much money it's going to take this weekend. We'll talk about that in the future. It's going to take a lot of money.
It's going to have a massive opening weekend.
There's some tracking saying because of mixed reviews, it might not be as high as they initially anticipated, but it's still going to take a lot of money. So Justice League starts shooting next month. Wonder Woman already shooting. They've talked about other movies. This movie, if you've seen the film, sets up a lot of the other characters. Where do you think we go next? Like, what do you think anything changes because of the reception of this movie, and can it in that short amount of time?
Well, although they won't admit it, I think it definitely will. But maybe I think it already has changed. We just don't know about it. I mean, they've known what this film looks like for a long time.
Yeah.
I've heard things. The industry seems to have heard things that, you know, there were some rumblings of problems behind the scenes. They weren't particularly happy with what they saw, and so I think things will change in terms of tone, without a shadow of a doubt. And I put that to the producer and the director when I interviewed them, and they all admitted that it would. Justice League has a lot more characters in it, and I think they're going to lighten the tone. Certainly what Debbie Snyder said to me and what Zack Snyder said to me is that the Flash, I think the Flash is going to be the fun character out of all these. He's going to be the more light-hearted character. Debbie Snyder called him comedic. Zack called him optimistic. And I think once Batman and Superman are interacting with those guys, I think we're going to see a different side to them. You know, we're meeting them at a real crisis of conscience in this film, at their lowest ebb, the two of them. So I think it can only go up from there. And certainly, I mean, they're not stupid. They'll see what people are saying and tweeting and writing in reviews. And I think people want to see that as well.
I think that's what I really hope. I hope there's a renewed emphasis and interest in character and understanding these characters and having them interact. For such a long film, Batman v Superman, you spend time with lots of characters. I feel like I get to know nothing more about them. Like, you see them at home, but very briefly. I don't think you get a better understanding of what makes any of these characters do what they do by the end of it. They're all talking in very broad, thematic. They're basically like pawns to service these big themes Snyder wants to service. And I hope, like in the Justice League, where it's an ensemble, they'll lean more heavily into character.
But again, there are so many characters, and you know, some of them won't have been introduced in movies yet, their own standalone movies. So it's tricky, you know. I mean, it's two different approaches. You know, Marvel introduced each of their characters with a standalone movie, and DC have done it via YouTube clips in the middle of one movie. Yeah. And I've spoken to one person who thought that was terrific. For me, it felt like an afterthought, really.
I thought it was really clunky. Because, you know, they filmed probably the scene with her, they filmed these all at very different points in time and used this computer UI as a conceit to relay that information. And I thought it was so clunky. I thought she was going to click on one and you get one tease and you're like, oh, seeing the other names. But she systematically went through each one.
We're sitting watching another person watch some CCTV footage. Yeah. It's like, it felt very strange to me. But yeah, certainly each director I know is being allowed to do their own thing. Yeah. This is Snyder's thing. So Patty Jenkins will be doing her thing, James Wan will do his thing. And certainly I spoke to Gal Gadot about the Wonder Woman movie, and she said it's going to be a completely different Diana Prince that we see in that film. The one we see in this film is kind of, she seems angry, she's untrustworthy. She's not trusting other people.
Isn't she? Yeah. She's seen the world tear itself apart.
And we're going to see in the Wonder Woman movie how she's become that person. I think she's going to start off a very happy, joyous, optimistic character, and then she's going to get beaten down by humanity, basically. So I think we will see different approaches in these different films, which will make them feel strangely tonally uneven. It's going to be interesting to see, and also how can Zack Snyder do that? The only film of his that I can think of that has a lightness of touch is his first movie, Dawn of the Dead, which is really funny. But they seem to be becoming more and more serious and more like. I guess we did the show. How many jokes will there be in Batman v Superman? Were there many? There's
none, and then they give them to Batman, who is not.
There's a couple. I think Perry White has a couple of funny lines.
But the one where I just don't. But by the time it comes so late on, it doesn't work. Is when he's like, "I'm a friend of your son's." In a slightly different movie, I think that would have been a really brilliant line, and you would have but because it's so serious, and he was so close to like stabbing him in the side like 10 minutes earlier. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. The Cyborg origin, I actually felt was really weird and horrifying.
Yep.
It's so strange. Like, that's his whole origin done via that method. You don't know what the cube thing is, and when he's regrowing, it's really quite like a horror movie.
Yeah. Well, the whole film threw up so many questions, like that the scene when Bruce Wayne has that vision.
Yeah.
And we've all been talking about it, trying to figure it out, and I think we've figured out kind of what's going on. but I'm not sure. Like, that's going to have to get explained in another movie.
But the fact that even there's no consensus among comic book fans who've seen it, how alienating a scene is that? Like, the fact you watch that, and I've spoken to different people who all think that's a different character.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I thought
strange.
I thought it was one character, and now I thought it was Robin, and now I think it's the Flash.
But anyway.
And people have a better hand at once they watch this because they will have seen it more than once, and so you can, because it's so unexpected and it happened so fast, you're kind of like, what the hell was that? Yeah. It does feel like a film where we've been told there's going to be an R-rated cut with 30 minutes extra. It does feel like there was a lot missing, and certainly when I asked Snyder about why Superman can't hear his mum crying out for help when she's kidnapped, and he gave me, we'll put it on the site once the film's come out, but it's for a few days, but it was a very convoluted answer. It was confused, and then at the end of it he kind of said, oh, there's a scene that explains maybe it that we didn't use, and so but that's very frustrating.
It feels like they have to like do these convoluted things in order for it to make sense. When like says, oh, but I told them not to tell me, so you can find out from me, and it's just like, yeah, it's not clean, it's not elegant. And then 20 minutes later, Alfred's worked out where she is, and Batman saves her.
Yeah. So I wonder if, they spent a lot of Batman v Superman explaining the fallout from the incident at the end of Man of Steel. Will these follow-up films have to explain a lot of stuff that's happened in this film? Will that be taking up time, or will they just cut it off and just move on?
At the end of this movie. Let's talk about that. More to your point. So will the next film, Justice League, have to resurrect Superman, or will Justice League proceed for the early part without Superman and he comes back at the end? Maybe that's like the punchline for Justice League Part 1, they bring back Superman. Well,
it's going to have to be a bit after these events take place, and the ending of the very last shot would suggest that he's back already. Yeah. He's alive already. But yeah, and who's going to be the villain? I was trying to quiz them on who the villain will be, because it feels like it's seeded in that dream sequence, in whatever that vision is.
I love that we all thought that was Darkseid, and it's actually just Batman standing on a mountain. That everyone was like, oh, Darkseid, lose it. It's not. It's just Batman still.
But isn't that the dark side? I thought the thing was...
It is, and those are parademons, but a lot of people thought that image was actually Darkseid standing there.
You sent me that message. I didn't know what you meant.
Loads of people thought that was him. It's actually just Batman from behind.
Debbie Snyder said that they've got a really great bad guy, and Zach said he's a large threat, big and scary. They wouldn't say any more than that. And when I asked them if they'd seeded it in this film, they both kind of gave me one of those smiles that suggested that that is what that is.
Parademons, I guess. But
I don't know. I mean, I guess to finish this conversation, where do they go from here? What do you think is going to happen next?
I think it just puts. Wonder Woman is next. I think that will have a lot more going for it. You know, it's standalone, brand new character. I know we've glimpsed it here. I think it just puts a lot more pressure on Justice League because it is Snyder and it's a lot of the same principal people. I hope, like you're saying, the movie's been done for quite a while, whether they've taken some of that criticism already on board before the movie came out. I just want to see more. Like, I don't want these movies to fail. I want Batman and Superman to have great movies. Batman v Superman just wasn't it for me.
No, I want to enjoy it, and I want to have fun with it. Even if it takes a serious approach, I still want to be having fun.
Yeah, well, and Nolan's movies
and the X-Men movies, I think, have done that. And we'll see this summer with Apocalypse. But I found it a little bit of a slog, particularly once the Batman-Superman fight was over. I found it a bit of a slog, and I just want to enjoy it more.
Cool. So yeah, if you've seen the film or you're seeing it soon and you watch this for whatever perverse reason, send us your feedback, superheroshow@ign.com.
Do tell us how wrong we are, because I've been getting a lot of tweets.
So we said send in some feedback about Daredevil Season 2. We're going to go through that now. First one I've got is from Domer, who is overall he liked the season, great season, but he said disappointing finale. In a season so busy with stories and characters that never cross paths and leave each other without enough time to develop deserved substance, Punisher and Lecter, they all finally came to a head in the final scenes. I was very excited in the last minutes when Daredevil and Lecter had a moment in the rooftop stairwell, facing inevitable doom. However, when the two fighters come out ready to deal some damage, there were only maybe 18 ninjas on a rooftop. And he found it quite anticlimactic, even though Matt was like, how many? He went, too many to count. Matt can't count more than 18. I think it's a nice, quiet finale in some ways. It's almost, I love that scene in the rooftop, in the stairwell, when he takes off his mask and he's saying again, like, I think throughout I think a lot of attention, a lot of plaudits went to Punisher and Elektra. I think Charlie Cox is great in that season because throughout and through his relationship with these two characters, he realises that he loves doing this and he can never share that with Karen. And Elektra comes back into his life and she brings out this dangerous side when they infiltrate the building and it's a bit James Bondy. And by the end, he realises he wants to run away with her. And it's a really sad moment because she knows that it can never work. And I think it's a really powerful scene. There's lots of great, like, just two-hander scenes in Daredevil Season 2. Yeah,
that worked better than some of the ones in Batman v Superman, I thought. Those ideological differences getting discussed. Yeah, because we haven't even talked about it yet, because I've barely been in the office doing this Batman stuff, Superman stuff, but I loved it up to a point, and it lost me the last 2 or 3 episodes. I think it's maybe episode 11 was terrible. I thought it was a really bad episode where nothing happened, and it's this theory I've got that maybe 13 is just too many, long. And that maybe 10 is a better number because it still felt to me like there was a couple of filler, and also I felt it really reached its peak for me with the Punisher prison episode. It was so good. And then he was such a good character, and then he disappeared, pretty much. And
his reintroduction isn't as powerful as it should be.
No, it didn't.
He just takes 1 or 2 shots, and
I thought he was going to really come in and just lay waste to everyone with all that artillery, and then he didn't. And I'm like, oh, well, why did we see him with all that?
And if there's any doubt there's a Punisher spin-off show coming,
yeah,
there's no question now that really sets him off. I hope they just do like 6 episodes with him. I don't need 13-episode Punisher season.
No, but it was terrific. I thought the casting, I thought Elektra and Punisher, as we've said before, we'd only seen 7 episodes last time. I thought they were both.
She was the real
terrific.
Surprise for me as well. Like I thought Berthol was going to nail it, but she was great. I love that final bit where she's like, "I can't do this, Matt," and she runs away, and then she turns back over. She's like, "I got bored." Perfect line. But yeah, the prison seat, when Punisher gets his own hallway sequence, essentially.
Shocker. My God.
I was watching it at my mum's house. I watched the remaining episodes on Friday when they came out. And I was just, my mouth was open. It's like, I can't believe you're doing this.
Absolutely brilliant. All right, something more negative now. Dave from Boston says, I hate speaking bad about another person. Now remember that when you hear the rest of this email. David hates speaking bad about another person. The actor playing Foggy Nelson, Eldon Henson, needs to get fired and replaced. I'm sure Mr. Henson is doing his best, but his acting is stiff, takes me out of the moment. He's over-rehearsed and just plain sucks. And then David, who doesn't like speaking bad about another person, adds, he needs to find the top of a tall building and jump off. He should find a sharp blade and run into it. David, that's what's known as a contradiction. You're contradicting yourself there. And while I've said it before in here, I'm not a fan of that character, or more specifically, maybe the actor, I still don't think that should happen to him.
It's a bit harsh, that, I think.
I'm sure he's a nice bloke.
A bit harsh. Mo has written in, he absolutely loved season 2, but my one complaint is Karen's ability to switch jobs without interview, resume, or reference. She seamlessly went from accountant to legal assistant to investigative reporter. Her LinkedIn profile must be ridiculous. Writer's block, Karen. You're not an employee or a reporter. Just go home. It is amazing. Similarly, Clark Kent, at the age of 30, has had no stable job, and he walks into the Daily Planet as senior reporter, sports reporter.
Sports reporter who's on these
right, sports.
He's in the boardroom in the big meeting. Like, it's just a bit disrespectful for what we do. You know?
I want to Pulitzer Prize for this. She didn't say that in this film. Like Karen, I can see why. Like, she's obviously good and she's tenacious, a good researcher. But if you worked at the paper, it's not the Bugle, what do they call it, the Herald?
Yeah.
I can't use Bugle. If she got Ben's office and you've been there for like 10 years and she goes straight in and gets his office, I'd be fuming.
I mean, getting your own office is a big deal in this day and age. No one has their own office anymore.
Fuming.
Unbelievable.
So yeah.
I don't even want to read this out. Mark Wojno says, I'm just going to read this without comment.
Okay.
I can't take it anymore. I keep hearing you guys talk about your Fist Dan Stevens campaign, and even watched in horror as you broached the subject with Aaron Paul. and Anthony Mackie. I think maybe this is like a language thing, and in the UK it means something different. But neither Aaron Paul or Anthony Mackie were hungover. One of them was. The reason they reacted so strangely is because fisting someone, well, just Google it and you'll see. Don't do it at work. So when you now get suggestions for a Ride Aaron Paul campaign, I think some of your viewers are having a bit of fun. Both Fist Dan Stevens and Ride Aaron Paul sound like sexual acts. Thought you should know. I was trying not to smile.
Yeah.
Are they? I mean, this is something.
I don't know about that.
This is complete news to me.
If your mind's in the gutter, Mark.
So does that mean potentially the stuff we were doing and saying would worked on two levels, almost like we were having a joke? I
don't know. Like,
it's confusing, isn't it?
Because British culture doesn't have a long history of sexual innuendo.
No. No, and doing that, I mean, I don't even know what. I guess that maybe looks like innuendo now.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let us know what you think. supershow@ign.com. Until next week, take care of yourself.